Hello, Internet. Welcome to Only Kind of Everything. And taste might be subjective, but I am going to take a little bit of time today to give you my thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. Now, we're going to get straight into it. This is a spiritual successor to the legendary Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series. If you are too young to remember that, welcome to the party. Now, one of the things you have to keep in mind with this game, outside of having an insane roster, is that there are some characters missing, mostly from the Dragon Ball earlier on stuff. And I think that's probably because they wanted to focus on the super characters, the Dayama DLC characters. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because General Tao was really fun to play as back in the day. But I do get if they had to choose between Dragon Ball and the new stuff, I can see why. Now that immediately does come up with some controversy because everyone does want like the stuff from the manga, Alter Ego Vegeta and Black Frieza and characters to that nature, but we're not going to get them. Now, in line with the roster, I do think it is a really solid roster. You have a lot of movie reference with Cooler and Yojimba, I can't pronounce the name. You have the Dragon Ball Z Broly, as well as Super Broly. I do kind of not get why Chila isn't there. She doesn't really fight a whole lot, but it would be kind of cool just, for presence sake. I did kind of feel like it sucked that we didn't get like Bardock, his team, Genin. There's some stuff like that would have been nice to have, but I get it. Now, if you look at combat in this game, combat is probably, I would say it's a divisive feature to say the least. It's easy enough to pick up and learn, and it's hard enough to master. I have fun with the combat. I'm, good friend of mine. We played the other day, and I got destroyed. There was just too much of a gap. He's too good. I'm not good enough. I basically... he used cheap, garbage characters, if you will, like Cyberman and Hercule. And I basically had to resort to the giant characters, the ones that are basically the closest to playable bosses you can get. And that's what it took for me to remotely come close to getting wins against this guy. But I think one of the issues I do have with combat is... it reminds me almost too much of kind of like especially with the Ki Blasts, Xenoverse and Kakarot, in that you have to be almost mid-combo, and that's physical combo, for any of your Ki Blast attacks to land. There are exceptions, like the Kefla's ultimate is an area of effect attack. Same with Nappa and Raccoon. But I do feel I'm not a big fan of the have to be mid, strike to hit those Ki Blasts. But it's still the combat is still fun. As far as game modes go, this game has a lot to offer. From the customizable story events that you can create, to the world tournaments, which go from the standard world tournament to the Cell Saga to the Tournament of Power, which the Tournament of Power is cool because it does follow the Tournament of Power where you can't fly. So everybody's just running around, and especially when you get like giant characters like Great Ape Vegeta or one of the other doctors whose name absolutely escapes me because I didn't watch the movie that it was in. But seeing these large characters that in any other form, like they just float and fly, that's how they move. Running around, I think, is just entertaining to me. And then you have the Yamcha games, which, it's basically a free-for-all. And this kind of goes to the Cell games, too. You have the Cell games where you fight a couple people, and then Super Perfect Cell or Cell Perfect Form is your final boss. Same with the Yamcha games, except Yamcha's like souped up, so he's actually a challenge. You have the story mode, which I think that's really where this game shines. Obviously, you have your traditional Goku story from start to finish. You also get to follow the story of Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, Frieza, and Goku Black. Those are really cool little abilities, if you will, to see the story through their eyes. And most importantly, and it's a part that a lot of people were glad to hear come back, are the side stories, or as they call them in this game, the sparking episodes. And they're effectively triggered when you're in the story mode and you veer from history, be it a dialogue choice where early on you can choose to go with Piccolo to fight Raditz, or you can go I'm going to go alone, and then it's you, Krillin, and Roshi versus Raditz. So you have decisions that can change these stories, but even more so, you have events like, you beat Raditz without using the special beam cannon, and you change. And that's where your sparking story starts, and you get this different history where you can have things like Goku turning Super Saiyan before Namek, Frieza coming to Earth, Gohan becoming the Goku Black. These are really good. Some of them are really hard to trigger because you are fighting the uphill battle and you have to beat an enemy that is stronger than you, not just get to your time, but you have to win. Again, that might be to do with my own skill level. So there are some spots in that it's a drag for me to try to get through, but they are fun. Then you have what I would consider like a hidden gem of the game. In the encyclopedia mode, you have, if you've played the old games, you know that when you would go to like your encyclopedia or to that nature, Chi-Chi was there and she would talk, kind of give her smack talk, if you will. Well, in Sparking Zero, they one-up it and they have a girl talk feature, which is a phone call conversation. That's where encyclopedia is this phone call. But it's Bulma, Videl, and Chi-Chi. And you can go through every character and they give some of their own thoughts. Honestly, I think some of the best ones are them talking about some of the villains, like Frieza, where there's some points they just absolutely rag on Frieza. Chi-Chi talking about like if you click on Super Saiyan Caulifla, she will basically refer to her as a delinquent and saying that she was a delinquent before the gold hair. But the game overall, it plays nice. It's an insanely good game in terms of representation to what the old Budokai Tenkaichi series was. It is, if you want to look at it as a fighting game overall, you have to consider perhaps one of the biggest arguments with the game, balance, because a lot of people go into this well, the game should be balanced, but to a degree it really shouldn't be. If you're playing as Hercule, you should be fighting an uphill battle against Cell or anybody above. Cell already is above him, but if you're Hercule versus Lord Beerus or Whis or Ultra Instinct Goku. It should be an uphill fight. You shouldn't be on equal footing. So I do think that's to be taken into consideration, because there is a clear tier level to this game just by who you're picking. I would say the game is 100% though worth your purchase, and that's at full price. Obviously bearing, like, if you just don't like Dragon Ball Z and that franchise, you probably won't enjoy the game, because it obviously relies heavily on that. But if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Z, Super, all that, and you have been craving a good, maybe more traditional Z fighter, not necessarily the Arc Systems Dragon Ball Fighters, which is what I would consider more of a traditional fighting game. If you're looking for more of that traditional Dragon Ball feeling in your game, I would say this is it. It's not necessarily the RPG that Kakarot is, and although it doesn't have the true own story that Xenoverse did, Xenoverse still relied all Dragon Ball Z games rely heavily on the story and lore of that. I would say that this is definitely the best version of a Dragon Ball game we have gotten in a long, long, long time. So guys, that's all I have. Let me know what you think about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And I will see all of you in the next video. Bye!